Hello, and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. I was intending on taking you out to one of the many Odyssey locations for a Pennsylvania New Year's celebration. Unfortunately, due to the unconstitutional and somewhat tyrannical practices of the Pennsylvania state governor, nobody's permitted to openly gather or participate in any form of community event that may bring people together and give them hope for a better new year. So, I figured I would incarcerate myself in keeping with the socialist agenda instead of exercising my liberties and my right to assemble during this time of unlawful mandates. What? Oh, right. I meant I decided to self-quarantine to slow the spread of an undiagnosed condition with a 99.99% survival rate, all because I went outside and took in a deep breath of fresh air. What I've done instead is brought together a conglomerate of videos to give you a virtual experience of the Odyssey things we Pennsylvanians do to ring in the new year, albeit a bit muted this time around. See you in a minute. Welcome back. If you've watched my videos before, thank you for your patronage, and if you're new to Scott's Odyssey, welcome aboard. Bells of all sorts have been used to ring in the new year going back to the 27th century BC, and more than likely, even earlier than that. Stepping through time and into the New World, throughout the late 1700s and into the early 1800s, people would gather in New York City on New Year's Eve to listen to the bells of Trinity Church ring in the new year. Jumping all the way forward to 1905, fireworks set off by Adolph Ox, owner of the New York Times, replaced the popularity of the church bells ringing, but was shot down and banned in 1907 due to concerns for unintended fires that could be caused by the event. Because of the kick in the pants Ox received by this judgment from the mayor, and especially because Ox was the owner of the New York Times, he set out to find a way to continue to keep his control over this celebration and maintain his wealthy boon during this holiday. Going back into the 1830s, ports and harbors used to have an illuminated canvas time ball. They would raise and lower at specific times to help the captains of the ships in the harbor keep track of time. In late 1907, after having his fireworks display shut down, Ox hired Artcraft Strauss to build a large ball that would have 100 light bulbs that he could lower from the top of his building, just as the ports and harbors had done in times before. Thus was born a 700-pound, 5-foot diameter illuminated ball that started the event that became our modern dropping of the ball at Times Square on New Year's Eve. Pennsylvania is unlike any other state when it comes to New Year's celebrations. Most people throughout the United States are very familiar with the ball drop at One Times Square that has been taking place ever since 1907. But did you know that it's not the only New Year's celebratory countdown? Believe it or not, every state has at least one location that participates in the dropping, raising, pushing, shooting, lighting, you name it event to acknowledge the New Year's arrival. But what you may not know is that Pennsylvania has at least 61 locations that perform some type of New Year's event to correspond with New Year's Eve midnight toll. To give it some perspective, the state of New York, where the ball is dropped, only has 15 events, and almost all of them is a ball drop, just like New York City itself. And in comparison, Pennsylvania has 61 events. New York has 15 events, and New York's 15 events puts it in second place in the United States. So my intent here is to give you a virtual visit to these Odyssey events in Pennsylvania, and hopefully with a little bit of why we Pennamites celebrate the way that we do. Many people often refer to Pennsylvanians as Yankees because they are north of the Mason-Dixon line. But the reality is Pennsylvania was at war, just as the South was, against the Yankees. We didn't wait until the Civil War to have our altercation. We actually did it in 1769 through 1770, second time in 1774, and again in 1784 as the Pennamites, letting them Northerners know that we would not be stepped on nor told what to do by a conglomerate of other states that had no vested interest in our territory. Listed in alphabetical order because, well, that's the easiest way to do it. The official weird shit Pennsylvania does to ring in or shoot in the new year. Akron. Akron drops a large purple and gold shoe in historical recognition of being the home to shoemakers. Allentown. The city of Allentown drops a Liberty Bell from a crane, commemorating the fact that the original Liberty Bell was hidden in their city during the Revolutionary War. Beavertown. A 6-foot-long fabricated beaver is lowered from 75 feet through the use of the borough's hook and ladder truck. The reason for the beaver? Well, it was the most populous inhabitant in the area when it was founded. Bethlehem. Bethlehem is home to Just Born Quality Confections, the makers of the infamous Peeps Chick, most often seen during Easter. Well, although this was my actual destination for this year, I was not able to participate more than virtually in the annual Peeps Fest that is concluded with the drop of a 4-foot 9-inch tall, 400-pound illuminated Peeps Chick. Blaine. Blaine takes a wooden cow and drops it from a tall silo. If you know the history of this one, or if you have any pictures, leave a comment down below. Boyertown. Boyertown drops a 3-foot-tall lighted Christmas bear based on the local school's mascot named Air Bear. The drop takes place at 6 p.m. East Coast time to coincide with Germany's New Year, giving a nod to their German heritage. Bradford. Bradford has a concerning issue with their drops. Known for dropping a ball every now and again, the replica of the Veterans Square gazebo is their thing. Unfortunately, the gazebo drop in 2020 did not go well when the fireworks display combination turned into a raining fire of despair and panic over the onlookers to that year's event. But hey, it was 2020. What else could you have possibly expected? Burnham. Burnham, once known as Freedom Forge, is a former forge and ironworks borough on the edge of Lewistown. I claim to be in the honor of their steel heritage, but more so in honor of the Standard Steel Company, which has been there since 1795 and employs pretty much everyone. Burnham drops a 250 to 400 pound steel train wheel replica at various locations throughout their borough. Carlisle. As part of the first night Carlisle festivities, Carlisle used to drop a mini Indy car. To participate in these activities, one would have worn a button purchased for entry. Their drop is now an extremely large button adorned with the winning artwork submitted by young children in their button drop competition. Cleona. As part of their pretzel making history, Cleona drops a 3-foot pretzel. Cornwall. In commemoration of the historic Cornwall iron furnace, a Civil War era cannonball is dropped. Sorry I don't have any pictures or videos of this one. If you happen to have them, leave a comment. Dillsburg. Dillsburg drops 2, well, pickles. 1, the Lil Dill at 7 p.m. to coincide with midnight in Ireland due to its Irish founders, and again at midnight our time with the much larger Mr. Pickle. Drexel Hill. Unlike the oddities found in other drops, Drexel Hill drops a 10-foot illuminated ball from a fire truck ladder. I don't have any pictures of this one, and I guess it's just because it's another ball being dropped. But if you happen to have one, leave it in the comments. Duncannon. Duncannon honors their local sled manufacturing company, Standard Sled, with the drop of a 10-foot replica of their famous Lightning Guider sled. East Petersburg. East Petersburg pretty much was only known for their 1852 colonial-style restaurant named Hayden Zuggs. At one point, a new tradition and manner to garner more business created the famous dropping of Hayden Zuggs Jug, which evolved into the Hayden Jug Drop, which, unlike the restaurant, continues to this day. Easton. Easton is home to the Crayola crayon, which of course means that on New Year's Eve, a 10-foot illuminated crayon is dropped. Elizabethtown. Elizabethtown holds heritage in its Irish founding, and the fact that M&Ms as well as Dove chocolates are manufactured in their town. So at 7 p.m. our time and midnight in Letterkenny, Ireland, an M&M or sometimes a Dove bar are dropped. Falmouth. Falmouth is a location famous for its historic goat races, and something that originally started as a joke when they received a gift of a teddy bear from their sister city, Falmouth, Nova Scotia, known for its teddy bear jamboree. Falmouth, PA returned the gift with a stuffed goat, and now complete with its keeper of the goat, drops a stuffed goat from a 35-foot flagpole at the municipal building. Halifax. Halifax drops a hemlock tree. I don't know why, being that their history is surrounded both literally and figuratively by sycamore trees, but if you do, or if you have pictures, leave a comment below. Hallam. Hallam is an interesting location that we may visit to give you the history of the Haynes Shoe House. Yes, a house made to look like a shoe by Mahlon Haynes in 1948. But needless to say, when your biggest attraction is a house that looks like a shoe, what do you think they drop on New Year's Eve? You got it, a shoe. Hanover. Hanover houses a location called Timeline Arcade, and in 2010 the owner thought it would be cool if Hanover had a drop like other places. Being his store was an arcade, he figured what could be better than the most successful coin-operated game ever, Paku Paku, and thus was born in 2013 the drop of, as we say in the United States, Pac-Man. Harrisburg. Harrisburg had an alley once known as Strawberry Alley, which was a formal demarcation point of how far into the downtown peddlers could sell their wares on market day without getting a fine. It was a common name spoken and eventually became the center of a large square government facility known as Strawberry Square. In keeping with this history, Strawberry Square drops a giant illuminated strawberry replica. Hershey. Hershey, home of Hershey's Chocolate and Candy Company and Hershey's Park, named after the founder, Milton Hershey. What better way to celebrate New Year's than with the raising of a 7-foot-tall, 300-pound Hershey Kiss 40 feet into the air? High Spire. High Spire had a formerly famous candy store in the 50s and throughout the 70s called Knight's Candy Store. In honor of this legacy, they raise a crate filled with similar confections that, like a piñata, rain down upon all of the onlookers at midnight. Hummelstown. Hummelstown is home to the Lollipop Drop, where an illuminated lollipop drops. This event is a family event and is encouraging families to come together to celebrate the new year. Icksburg. Icksburg is known for their French fry drop. I don't have any videos or pictures of this, but I would really love to have at least one. But there's a catch. It's not a French fry. It's a guy dressed as a French fry, complete with lights on his body, who hangs from a tether on the fire station and is lowered with the countdown. This is another one without a publicly available history. So if you have any information regarding its history, leave a comment. Kennett Square. Kennett Square, the mushroom capital of the world, drops its iconic illuminated mushroom. Lancaster. Lancaster drops a red rose. But before we go further, out of alphabetical order is York, because it relates directly to Lancaster. York drops a white rose. And here you have the infamous War of the Roses. Yep, that's the reason for their roses and the colors. A reference to a competition that goes all the way back to the House of York and House of Lancaster, England, as a sporting rivalry. Lebanon. Lebanon, home to one of my favorite forms of bologna called, well, Lebanon bologna. Yeah, they dropped that, adding to its weight and length each year to match the actual year. It started at 100 pounds but keeps getting added to. For 2020, it should be about 20 feet long and weighing in at 220 pounds. The meats are donated to school lunch programs. Lewistown. Lewistown is home to Hartley's Potato Chip. Did you know that Pennsylvania is home to the majority of every potato chip and pretzel company in the world, not to mention confections and chocolate candy makers? Well, Hartley's is one of those potato chip companies and one of the few that are not located in the Hanover area. So, to celebrate the new year, a huge potato chip bag is dropped, and if you're at the event, you can even get some of the chips from within the large bag. Lidditz. One thing that Lidditz was famous for was a 110-pointed star created for the local Moravian church. Another was for the display of a nativity scene in their town square, which caught national attention through the Civil Liberties Union as a no-no because it was claimed to be on public property. That religious tradition continues with the drop of a large Moravian star on New Year's Eve. This is in contention with a common practice of pretzel raising. Liverpool. Liverpool was once a very busy and hustling port along the Pennsylvania Canal. Because of this, they drop a replica canal boat. Lower Allen Township. Lower Allen Township is a location famous for, well, they have a creek named Yellow Breeches, and because of this, they drop a pair of 5-foot-tall yellow breeches because, well, they have a creek named Yellow Breeches, right? Marysville. Marysville drops a replica of the Rockville Bridge, the longest stone masonry arch railroad viaduct in the world. Media. Media is a town that goes against the grain of Pennsylvania and should probably receive a shunning for their snarkiness. They drop an illuminated ball with their advertisement to the event being, where else can you ring in the new year with a real ball drop? Mannheim. Mannheim is not too different from Media with the exception of the fact that they don't drop the ball, but instead they raise the ball. McClure. McClure, Pennsylvania is home to the McClure Bean Soup Festival in September, and in honor of this festival, they drop the McClure Bean Soup Kettle. McVeytown. McVeytown drops a really big ice cream cake in the middle of winter at an average temperature of 16 degrees Fahrenheit with a 5-mile-an-hour breeze because, well, if you know why, leave a comment below. Mechanicsburg. Home to thousands of mechanics who worked on Conestoga wagons in the early 1800s is Mechanicsburg, where every New Year's Eve they drop a large illuminated wrench. Middletown. Middletown drops a special big brain item made of metal called a rhombic-cube octahedron, but not everyone knows what a rhombic-cube octahedron is, so they smushed the words sphere and octagon together to create a portmanteau of a sphoctagon. If you know the origin of this event and why they chose it, leave a comment below. Myerstown. Myerstown is home to the manufacturing plant of one-a-day vitamins, Aleve, Alka-Seltzer, and, well, Bear Aspirin. So to celebrate the new year, they drop a large illuminated Bear Aspirin. New Bloomfield. New Bloomfield, home of the real huckleberry, drops a box huckleberry. No, really, a Galacacia brachyacera, the box huckleberry plant, based on their Hooverton and Shoal box huckleberry natural area designated to protecting a 1,000-year-old colony of box huckleberries. Newville. Newville, found near the Big Spring Creek, was founded by the Big Spring Presbyterian Church, and I guess, just like Lower Allen and their yellow breeches, got somewhat literal and decided to drop a big spring. Palmyra. Palmyra's history in Pennsylvania is rooted in the cobble production of footwear, and that leads to, you guessed it, the dropping of a big shoe on New Year's Eve. I don't have any pictures of this one. If you do, leave a comment. Philadelphia. Philadelphia doesn't drop anything. The celebration of New Year's in Philadelphia begins days before New Year's and is done on New Year's Day with the Mummers Parade, something that we will cover in the future episodes. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh drops a large ball made from recycled material representing the planet Earth. Port Royal. Port Royal, home to the Port Royal Speedway, drops a sprint car, and in this case they actually drop it. Oddly enough, it is also the location where if you drive 1 mile over the speed limit, you will get pulled over by a state trooper. Pottsville. Pottsville is home to America's oldest brewery, Yuengling. In turn, they run a giant illuminated bottle of Yuengling lager up the flagpole. Reamstown. Reamstown is another beer town in Pennsylvania and the makers of Doppelbock Wobbly Bob. On New Year's Eve, a Wobbly Bob sitting on a beer barrel is dropped. Red Lion. Red Lion raises a yellow lion holding a wooden cigar in honor of their cigar manufacturing history. Richland. Richland is another cigar heritage location that does the drop of a cigar. Seven Valleys. Seven Valleys is home to a restaurant that touts the best chicken around, so they are sponsors of the New Year's Eve chicken drop. Shamokin. Shamokin does something very interesting with their coal heritage, and they drop a lump of coal that hits the bottom and turns into a diamond. Shenandoah. Shenandoah, in remembering its Polish heritage, drops a giant pierogi with kielbasa at 7 p.m. to match the Polish New Year. Shippensburg. Shippensburg celebrates their drop during the Anchor Festival, culminating up to, well, dropping of the anchor. Being that Shippensburg is named after Edward Shippen, leave a comment below if you know why they chose an anchor to be their drop. Strasbourg. Strasbourg does an actually interestingly fun little event. At midnight, Strasbourg drops ping pong balls. That is 275 ping pong balls from the top of their tallest building. The reasoning behind this choice for their drop? Because it's fun. Sunbury. Sunbury was the first city where an entire building was wired with Edison's three-wire system. The building was called the City Hotel and later renamed to the Edison Hotel. In honor of Edison putting Sunbury on the map, they light a giant light bulb with, well, lots of light bulbs. Tamaqua. Tamaqua lights up a series of illuminated eagles on each floor of the Tamaqua high-rise, culminating in the lighting of a sign signifying the new year. Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre copied the Shamokin practice of dropping a lump of coal in order to have it become a diamond. Not much to say for originality in the coal cracker country, but if you have any video or history or pictures behind this, let me know in the comments below. Williamsport. Williamsport is home to the Little League World Series, so in celebration on New Year's Eve, a baseball is dropped. Last but not least, Womelsdorf. Womelsdorf is another cigar manufacturing town, and yep, you guessed it, they too do a cigar drop. These wonderful and odd traditions are part of what separates Pennsylvania from other states, and more so, it shows how communities and people come together to celebrate the beginning of a new year. Stand up for your history and your heritage, and stop those who oppose you and whom are seeking to take all of who we once were away from us. If I missed your town, let me know in the comments below. If you have history to add to the towns mentioned, feel free to share it. If you haven't already, remember to click like on this video and to subscribe for more odd-to-see stories of who we once were and, well, apparently still are. I thank you for joining me in this video. Have a safe and happy new year, and I'll see you on the next video.